Nityanandam. Welcome to another video. So today I'm just going to talk about a really interesting conversation that we were having last night as a group, and it was basically just the transformation for a lot of us at different periods over our life and for different reasons to turn into a vegetarian lifestyle. So here at the Adinam, we all lead a pure vegetarian lifestyle. For some people, they were already vegetarian or vegan before coming here, and for some people, it's something that when they have become educated on the reasons why they should be vegetarian, that's something that it was a new venture for them from coming here or from following Swamiji beforehand. So I think it's pretty obvious for anybody that doesn't really grasp this. I find it hard to remember what it was like as a meat eater, if I'm being honest. But I do try to find compassion for the mindset, for the thought currents that people hold within society that still are meat eaters, because, as I say, I myself was once a meat eater. I would never have been disrespectful or dismissive of vegetarians or vegans, but I always said, oh no, it's not for me. I can relate. It's almost like I knew what they were talking about, but it's something just didn't click with my being. Like I understood that basically it was murder. I understood that it was selfish on the human's part to take a life just for the greed and the want of taste of meat in your body. I know that the industry is a money-making industry. I know and understand that for environmental reasons, mass producing all these animals, literally just having these animals take birth, give life just for us to take life away is just, it's criminal, it's immoral, it's wrong on so many levels. Obviously, as well, 70% of the world's grains, I think it is fed to these animals in order for us then to eat the animals, and we all know that there's people around the world starving in poverty that could eat the grains that we're feeding to these animals. As I spoke there about environmental reasons, like on a human level, we can't even undo the damage that's being done, whereas if we were to stop the mass production of the animals and the emissions that they give off, and the way that they destroy the lands and the resources, the water, and the amount of water that they consume, even humans alone could not reduce that. So it's got a massive impact in so many ways, and not to mention your health. And that all comes down to the real fundamental part of it is karma. If you're going to take a life and cause pain, suffering, anxiety, and take the life away of another living being, that's what you have done to that animal. That is going to manifest inside you. How could it not? You know, if you think about it logically, if you think of every single point I've just made, and that is just like the tip of the iceberg, each point I've just made, how could you not want to delve deeper and learn a bit more? It's, if you decide not to delve deeper, that's almost guilt right there, because you know that you have a fear of going deeper because you know it's wrong. So just to give you a wee bit of background on my story and then what was discussed last night. So I come from an Irish family, and at home everybody is very much, I come from, like, where I live actually is a big farming community and fishing community as well. And nothing's really thought of having, you know, some sort of meat for your breakfast, lunch and dinner, maybe some days as well, but definitely lunch and dinner every day would consist of a type of meat, and it's thought to be very normal. And as I say, with the farming community, I think people are growing up seeing the animals in the land and to a certain extent being respectful to the animals while they're alive, and kind and compassionate. But then it's such a flip whenever you go into a shop and the meat's packaged nicely and put out on a shelf and advertised in a way that, you know, makes it seem like this is how the world is, this is what it's meant to be, that we're meant to eat animals. All of a sudden it becomes like a normal thing to do, which it's really, really not. It's very sick, it's demonic, it really is. It's demonic to think that like how can you look at animals in the field, and like people that say that they're animal lovers, how can you say that you're an animal lover and love one animal and kill another, eat another? um like, how can people kick off about dogs in China being burnt alive and eaten whenever they sit down to a different type of meat on their plate every day? It doesn't correlate, it doesn't add up. It's like, it's people are disassociating the two, so in order for them to make them feel better and to basically allow themselves to get away with what they're doing and to justify it. Um, so as I say, coming from that family background, I grew up always, thinking that there was not much wrong with it, that it kind of was just what you do. But I do remember certain parts of my childhood whenever I would have had the click. I remember one time, like, eating ham. I used to eat a lot of ham when I was younger, and the day I discovered that it came from a pig, I felt sick to my stomach. Like, I realized then that the ham was from a pig, and whenever I like realized the connection between the two, I was just like, it's disgusting. Even the taste of it, the texture, like everything, I don't want to do it. And I went off ham for a long time. But again, being around it every day with my family, everyday community, I didn't actually physically know anybody else was vegetarian. Internet hadn't been invented at that time. So I was very closed off, and on TV nothing was really portrayed about vegetarians, or definitely not vegan lifestyle anyway. So over the years I kind of come back to meat, but I'll be honest, never really connected fully with ham again, to the same level. Yes, I did eat bacon and sausages. Chicken I would have eaten a lot, and I didn't eat a lot of beef, and fish not really. So as I said, throughout my life it was there, but as I got older and as internet then came around, and as I started to meet more people, as I started going to secondary school and getting involved in more hobbies and activities, I started to meet people that kind of started to make me question things a little bit, but again, not to the point that made me want to become vegetarian. And one point that I must make that's, I suppose, very strong, and I think is very notable within, or noticeable within a lot of people within society, is that whenever they are in a community or a group that the majority of people are doing something, so say the majority of people are meat eaters, that makes them feel empowered that their decision is right. It makes them also, in a way, make fun of or scrutinise the person that has actually made a choice to go against the norm. And that's not only to do with this, that's to do with everything within society, whenever there's the majority against the minority, unfortunately. So it takes a lot of courage and a lot of basically a lot of, I was going to use the wrong word there, I'll not use it on video, but basically, yes, a lot of courage to stand up against the norm, and not just so you're going against the norm, but to go and get yourself informed, to find out the facts, to not just be going blindly like a sheep, like the majority of people within society do nowadays, and to look after not only yourself, but to look after your community, to look after your family, to look after your health, to look after your living beings that you're living with, to look after the earth. There's so much that comes from vegetarian and veganism that, like, it's to be, commended. Really, it is the life that we should be living. It's the life that we're designed to live. We're not designed to eat meat. And this is one of the things, as I grew older, I realised that, like, a lot of the scientific research out there actually shows that humans are not designed to eat meat. Take a lion, for example, like, their intestines is much shorter in comparison to a human, so the meat can digest and much quicker. It doesn't sit in the bowel. For humans, that sits there for a long time, and the acids that's produced, there's a higher risk with red meat with bowel cancer, which is scientifically out there. The science is there, but yet people still choose to eat it because it's what society says normal. It's what's advertised on your TV, and it's what, when you go into your supermarket, is packaged lovely in a nice aisle. It's sick. It's absolutely sick. And then what's being put into the meat to keep it fresh. And even when I was at home there was a big outrage on some of the meat factories where they were changing the dates of the meat so it's not as fresh, and that it's falling on the floor and they're putting it back in the conveyor. And people were like, oh, I'm definitely not going to be eating, it was a chicken factory, like, oh, definitely not going to be eating chicken anymore. This is disgusting. How can they do this, that, and the other? And I was like, you're missing the point. You're actually missing the point. go take it back a step further. Like, what are you part of? You're seeing something that's being wrong done to the meat that you're about to eat, but take it further back. What is being done to these animals? Like, they should not even be in that form, first of all. And just speaking of a chicken factory, like, I was going to say it actually disgusts me to say it now, but it doesn't disgust me, because this is the thing. I'm growing and I'm developing, and I encourage everybody to do their own research, to grow and develop in their own way, and people have to do it at their own pace as well. But become informed and make that decision. Don't follow blindly, or don't be ignorant and turn away just because you think that you know better, or that it's what you've always done. I actually used to work in a chicken factory. I was, what age was I? I was 19 at the time, actually. Was it 18? No, I was 19. Yeah, 19 at the time. And it was actually during my first year of coming back from university, and the money was really good pay. I was still eating meat at the time. It was like a well sought after job where I was at. Like, a lot of foreigners had come into the local town, because, as I say, great money, and like the work was like tough to a certain extent, but like pretty straightforward sort of work. So it kind of suited everybody's sort of needs and abilities. But like, looking back now, I don't even know how I did it, but it just shows me how much that my mind, thank God that my mind has shifted, my cognitions have shifted, how I've developed and grown as a person, and I'm so happy that has happened. It's actually, like, looking back, it makes me proud to see where I've come. But at that time, it was strange. I didn't think anything of it, and this is why I need to have compassion for people that are still in that mindset, because until something clicks, it's very easy to stay within that trap, basically. So yeah, I did that for a while, and then eventually went to university. Kept like opening my mind, learning a lot more. And as I say, I knew all these things that people had spoke about, but there was actually a yoga book that I had read one day, and it just so simply just said that about how not to eat meat. And it just said, like, meat broken down basically is like me, and then move the E over eat. So me, eat. And it sounds so simple, and as I said, it's something that I already know, because obviously I'm eating the meat, but it was something that just clicked with me, and I remember just sitting there for ages being like, oh my God, like, how self-absorbed and selfish are we that we believe that we have the right to take a life of another being? And what for? Just for like 10 minutes of satisfaction eating your dinner? Like a mouthful for, if you think about it, it's a dead carcass. It's the muscle of another body. It's so disgusting. And then when you go on a deeper level, the more I started to look into it after that, because it was from a spiritual perspective, the more I looked in, it was like, you're taking on the karma of that animal. What has that animal experienced? No animal goes skipping into the slaughterhouse being like, yay, come on friends, we're going to go get murdered right now. The animals go in, they're terrified, they're like calling out in pain in whatever the way they do. They're like shuffling back, they're shivering, they're like defecating on the floor, urinating on the floor. They are scared shitless, basically. And they have to sit and watch their other family members or their other friends that they have travelled in these cramped cages most of the time, or lorries, trucks, whatever it may be, into the slaughterhouse. It's baffling, actually is, and if you think too much about it, it's disgusting. I think that's the point. Nobody really likes to think too much of it. Nobody likes to think too deep about it. But slaughterhouses is one of the worst places on earth, without a doubt. And then, as I say, that was like the first sort of click for me, so I went vegetarian at that stage. And I would say 95% of the time stuck to it. While I was at university, I had been drinking, maybe the odd time when the drink's in, the wit's out, as they say, and maybe the odd time would have had like a chicken or something on the way home. But that slowly but surely, as the reasoning within me become deeper, I actually stopped doing that, which I obviously felt very happy with, and that deepened over time, and eventually I went into veganism. The reason I went into veganism, it was actually around the time I had been watching Swamiji, and I had been planning on going to do an ayahuasca retreat, and I think that like the whole cosmos, everything was like helping me to come from more of a compassionate sort of state. And when I thought about the reasons why I was vegetarian, I was like, I need to be a vegan. If I don't want an animal to be murdered for food on my plate, I don't want to walk around with a leather bag either. I don't want to be wearing fur. I don't want to use makeup that's been tested on animals. I don't want to eat an egg, because an egg actually, once it passes through the birth canal, an egg has the chance of life. So why would I then take that life? That's why within Hinduism we don't eat eggs either. Then it went like a step further whenever I came to Swamiji, and I took the healer's initiation. And within the healer's initiation we don't eat mushrooms either, and we don't eat yeast. And that's because yeast is a living organism. With mushrooms, the biomemory is very, very close, very similar to the biomemory that we hold as humans. So it basically, once you, say for example you're eating like plants or vegetables, the biomemory, they do feel pain. It's not that they don't feel pain, but they don't store it. They don't have a biomemory that stores it, so you don't incur any karma. With an animal, with mushrooms, yeast, they do have a biomemory that's very similar to us. So whenever you incur pain, suffering, harm to them, not only do you ingest that into your body, you incur that karma as well. So we all know that what you give, you receive. And that's why whenever people that eat meat, you will see that they do carry a lot of anxiety, they do carry a lot of anger and frustration, because the animal that they ate was angry and frustrated at the world, like to be treated in such a manner. You know, the anxiety before they're going to be killed, and even on a scientific level, they release hydrocortisone, the steroid, you know, before they die. You take that into your body. Not to forget what's being pumped into your meat as well. I forgot to mention like the hormones, the preservatives, like you're taking all that in your body, and then people are wondering why cancers are forming and developing, and different like unexplained neurological illnesses and everything. I don't know, like there's so much going on in our food. Like we're not actually eating food anymore. We're eating make-believe food. So yeah, I just wanted to chat a bit about that today. I'll make another video maybe sometime, a little bit more on it. And I've actually forgotten the name of the guy. He's an Israeli guy who was the one that I watched the video of the time that I had found Swamiji and was was planning on going to my ayahuasca retreat. I can't remember his name, but I'll find it and I'll post it below. But he is incredible, and he's been going around a lot of schools, colleges, like teaching people. He's actually been banned in certain countries. I'll have to find out what countries it was, but I remember I was shocked to hear it, shocked from going in places to spread this word to enlighten people, because so many people were actually standing up and turning. He was doing this in Israel, where they eat a lot of meat, and even a lot of people there were standing up and being like, actually, you know what, this man is speaking so much sense. And it was his video at that time, along with Cowspiracy and, you know, different ones like that, that I sat one night in my bed and I cried for hours and hours and hours, and as if like I felt all the pain and the suffering that's been going on, and I felt so disgusted in myself as a human being to be part of this society that we think it's the norm, that we're so selfish, that we're so far removed from like nature. And that's the problem. Humans are so far removed from that sense of oneness that we're willing to do anything just for our need, for our greed. Not even for our need, because it's not a need, it's a greed. So yeah, I'll speak more about it and I'll leave the links down below, but I'd like to hear your feedback, because I'm new to all these videos, and I'm getting used to sort of putting myself out there and maybe being a little bit controversial. But with something like this, I don't like feel like I need to hold back with what I'm saying, but I'd love to hear like your points of views, and even if it's something that you agree with or you don't agree with, I'd love to like get a discussion going. I'd love to see open people's minds a little bit, and if there's something constructive to give back to me, I'm all ears. And if you'd like to know more information about the whole spiritual reasons for veganism, or any other reasons that I can help you with, or to know more about Swamiji, just let me know, and I'd love to get a conversation going with you. So thank you for watching, and have a nice day. Nithyanandam.